Geography Notes Season by a study group. One season is a period of the year that observes a relative constancy of the climate and the temperature of a length of about 3 months. The season plays a role determining on the state of vegetation that essentially depends on geographical and climatic factors locally modulated by phenomena of type El Nino. The expression, fruits and vegetables in season, famous perfectly the influence of the season on the state of vegetation. Of one point of astronomical view, one season corresponds to the interval of time during which the Earth occupies a portion of the space of its revolution, rotation around the Sun. It is the slant of the axis of the poles combined to the revolution of the Earth around the Sun that makes that it occurs an alternation of the seasons, who come from the variation of sunshine led by the changing orientation opposite the solar radiance. They correspond to the periods that separate the passage of the Earth to some points of its orbit, or reciprocally of the Sun to some points of the celestial sphere, and that the celestial mechanics designates by the equinoxes and the solstices. Thus, in the zones of moderate climate, the astronomical seasons rudely correspond to 4 phases of evolution of the climate in the year: spring, summer, fall, winter. In the zones of tropical climate, one also speaks of seasons, but in the sense in season of rains and in season year importance and stakes of their seasonality, notably in the zones very cold and desert. The seasonality has a big importance chronobiology. So much for the sedentary species, who must adjust, for example, by behaviors of hibernation or starvation that impose them to make the reserves of greases or food, and a long phase of immobility or sleep that for the migratory species that must also accumulate energizing reserves, and whose new generation must be capable to the migration to the arrival of the bad season. These processes are largely controlled by a hormone. The predatory animals, explain wolf, sometimes follow their species prey at the time of their migrations, when it is about mammals. Notably, what in some regions probably made also the prehistoric man. The nomadic breeders could migrate between the valleys and the mountains according to the season. The first agriculturists had them to adapt to the seasons of vegetation and fruition. In the past, the long modifications of the seasonality, in tie with the modifications of the pluviometry, seem to have been one of the factors leading at fauna or the trees of the phenomena of gigantism, or unlike adaptive dwarfism mechanisms of the seasonal climatic variations. The seasonal climatic variations are created by a double factor. On the one hand, the revolution of the Earth around the Sun, and on the other hand, the slant of the north-south axis of daily rotation of the Earth in relation to the plan of its orbit around the Sun, ecliptic. According to the position of the Earth in relation to the Sun on its orbit, the zone that receives the rays of the Sun in a perpendicular way alters. Therefore, more the rays arrive near of the perpendicular, that to be to say the Sun more is close to the zenith, more he is hot. For a terrestrial observer, all along the year, the Sun, although stationary, seems to oscillate around the equator, so that it illuminates perpendicularly and successively. According to a current enough received idea, the seasons would depend on the distance Earth-Sun, the Earth being more close to the Sun in summer than in winter. This idea is false, because it doesn't explain the variations of the length of the day, nor the inversion of the seasons between the hemispheres southern and boreal. The distance middle Terra Soleil is besides of 150 millions of kilometers, with a yearly variation or less to 5 millions of kilometers, either 1/6%. Currently, the Earth is at more close to the Sun perihelion toward January 4th and to the farthest aphelia toward July 4th, either about 2 weeks after the solstices respectively of December and June. The instant of the perihelion arriving on average later 25 min 7278 s each year. The perihelion was simultaneous with the solstice of December 800 years ago and will be simultaneous with the solstice of June in very roughly 9,700 years. Thanks. For more, visit www.istudy.in.